Ladies and gentlemen,
Businesses have life cycles just like humans, and what they need at each stage will be different.
Yeah, it's a setup to make you get up and get into it. Allow me to influence your
the
financial affluence.
six-figure
It's a
setup.
setup to make you get up and get into it. Allow me to influence your financial affluence.
The six-figure setup.
But nothing in this world that I like more than checks. Money. All I really wanna see is the money.
Go get the money, go get the money.
My check.
The six-figure setup.
We are back with another episode of the Six Figure Setup podcast and a fresh perspective on entrepreneurship. On this week's episode, your host, Tiffany Gillespie, interviews Rachael Hanible, certified financial educator and personal finance coach at Missing Piece Financial Group. Rachael shares about her life as a corporate executive and a business owner, plus the calculated risk you must take in business. You don't want to miss her secret to attaining and sustaining a six-figure salary. Listen in now.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Six Figure Setup Podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Gillespie. I'm so excited to be back with you all for another week. I don't know about you all, but this month has been absolutely powerful. If you are an entrepreneur, I really hope that this month has been very helpful to you, that you all have learned some of the secret ingredients, the secret sauce to make you successful as an entrepreneur. Now, this week, I have someone on who approaches entrepreneurship in a bit of a different way. I'm not going to give away everything in my introduction, but one of the things that's very important to me as the host of this podcast is that we bring on people who can speak to the entrepreneurial journey in all of its facets. Everyone's journey is different. I tell you guys that all the time. So go ahead and grab a notebook right now, because I have with me Miss Rachael Hanible, and I'm so excited to have her on with us. She is a certified financial educator, a personal financial coach. So she is the money woman. I'm excited to hear more about like her career and all of those things. And I'm trying to, y'all know when I get excited, I can kind of get ahead of myself. So I'm just trying to slow walk this thing. But her industry really centers around professional finance and all of the work that she does as a certified financial education instructor. She is also the founder of Missing Piece Financial Group, and Rachael has a really interesting story. She is someone I've had the privilege of knowing for years, and she is someone that I definitely call friend, like she's been in my house friend, because I know some of y'all be having like friends that y'all like kind of call friends, but y'all not really friends. But she is a friend of mine and has been a consistent presence in my life for many years, but y'all know I saved my love for the end of the podcast. But her story is really interesting because she became debt-free after paying off over $92,000 worth of debt. Y'all, I don't even have that much debt, okay? You know, glory be to God, okay? But oh Lord Jesus, if I did, I don't know how I would approach it, but I guess I would have to call Rachael. She was also able to save a year's worth of her income and cash, and her credit score is currently sitting at an 846. But is that accurate? Is it not higher? Did it go up a point, or are they still trying to hold out on you?
They still trying to hold out on me, so I'm holding at the 846.
Okay, you holding at the 846, y'all. Listen, we got to send up a prayer. We got to write a petition or something, because they trying to keep our good sis from this good 850. But we know that she is going to get there rather. For the last 9 years, she's been a personal financial coach, and she helps adults to reach their short-term and long-term financial goals. So this podcast episode, again, I think is very special because we're going to be looking at so many different things. We're going to be looking at personal finance, how it impacts business finance. We're going to be looking at a unique approach to an entrepreneurial journey, just talking about so many different things. You all are going to hear her story. So please, again, make sure you have a notebook so that you can take notes. In addition to all of the amazing things that she's already done, she's a private lender and investor for multiple Black-owned small businesses in the city of Philadelphia. So basically what that means is that she puts money in behind the scenes, okay? So you may know of some businesses in which she is a lender or investor, but you just didn't know because she's the behind the scenes money lady. She's also an author, and I am impressed because her book is available at Walmart, Target, Barnes and Nobles, and it is an Amazon bestseller. She has done book tours and all of that. And the name of the book is Amber's Magical Savings Box, which is actually an interactive children's book. So it'll teach your kids how to earn money, save money, properly manage their money from a very young age. We're going to have her tell the story behind that book and just some of the inspiration for that. So whether you are 3 years old, 13 years old, 33 years old, 63 years old, like whatever your age is, Rachael truly has something for you. I could go on and on and on. I literally only covered maybe a quarter of her bio, but I just want to toss it over to you, Rachael. Is there anything that you feel like I missed before we get into the meat of what we're going to talk about today?
No, you hit it right. You hit it right on the head. You got it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm really happy that we covered everything. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. I think I actually want to start with talking about your personal finance journey. And we're going to talk about how this really positioned you to be an expert. So if you don't mind, just tell the people your personal finance journey. We need to hear about this $92,000 in debt and how you got to where you are today.
Well, it started from me. I grew up in a poor neighborhood. I always say that the money was low, the hope was low, and the crime was high. Most of the jokes in school was about who had less money than the other person. It was like, okay, is this a who's poorer than who's? That was like every day. And most of the crime was around like robbing people or just issues with money in general. And so I was like, I don't think this is God's plan for my life. And so I always had an idea that I would be wealthy. And even when I would say it when I was younger, people like, not around here. Around here, we don't even know, what that means. And so I was like, I need to find out what that is. I do believe that there's more to life than just, I can't even say paycheck to paycheck because we didn't even make it until the next paycheck. Things were really that bad. And so I just started on my journey of just self-educating myself on like what is credit, what is budgeting, investing, what are those things? I had never heard those words before. And so I remember getting a subscription to the Wall Street Journal and just like reading it like it was a regular book. And to me, those people in there, they were like my buddies that were like putting me on game, as we say now, right? And even though I didn't know them, I was like, they're giving me information that I never knew before, and I'm not getting at home. And so I just kind of started running my, just doing research and just started from, $1 at a time. I told people that when I started my debt-free journey, I was only making $8.75 an hour. And I was like, I got to pay off all this debt. I want to be debt free. I've never met anyone who was debt free before. And so that's really where the journey started.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Businesses have life cycles just like humans, and what they need at each stage will be different.
Yeah, it's a setup.
All right, so I think we really got to talk about this $8.75. Like it's so interesting when I talk to like younger people about minimum wage, when I tell them that I worked for like $2 and some change as a server, how many ever years ago, and then hearing stuff like $8 and all of that. And the sad part is in some states, that minimum wage really hasn't even increased. If it's increased, it hasn't increased by much if it's increased at all. So there's a couple things though. When you said that, one of the things that really popped out to me was that you saw beyond your money, right? Like you saw beyond your current situation. And then the other thing that really popped out to me when you said that was that you can literally start paying off your debt at any point. at any time. So people who said like, oh, I can't afford to pay off my debt, or I can't afford to save, or whatever, like, what would you say? What kind of mindset do you have to have, first of all, to believe that 875 is enough to start getting out of debt? And then what would you say to those people who say, I make, $9, $10 and I can't afford it?
I tell people that you need to figure out a way to widen the gap between your income and your outgoing. And so that's where all of your wealth is going to come from. That's where you're going to be able to pay off your debt. And so normally we will make a list like how can you increase your income? How can you decrease your expenses? And even if you find $20, I tell people I started paying extra $20 on my car note, my car payment at the time, and I started paying extra $5 a month on my student loan debt. That was all I had, but I knew that I needed to start somewhere. And when it comes to paying off debt and even saving, it's crazy to say this, but the consistency is actually more important than the amount, because that's where your mindset is going to be trained to. I'm taking baby steps to where I want to be. And some days, some days we're running, some days we're skipping, some days we're literally just little baby steps. But if you're getting closer to your goal every day, imagine doing one thing every day to get you closer to your goal. Then you're going to be like, wow, if a few years go by, you're like, oh, look at this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I share the same testimony. I love sharing my personal finance story. I think a lot of times when people hear like, oh, 6-figure setup, 6-figure revenue, profit, salary, whatever, I think people sometimes forget that like you don't come out the womb making that. Maybe some people do. I don't know. That's not my testimony. That's not your testimony. But I come from a family that taught the importance of saving, but like not really how to stay out of debt, not really how to invest, like all of those things. So there were so many other financial principles that I had to learn. And even when I first started my business, this is one of the things I always tell people when it comes to financial management is to give yourself grace, right? And especially when you're first starting a business. When I first started my business, I didn't have anything extra, right? Like I literally I started my business on unemployment. So literally I had like nothing extra. But eventually, when I started to make just a little bit, right? Just a little bit above what I needed, I then began to ask myself that question of, okay, how can I take just a little bit, $5, $10, whatever, and invest that or pay down debt or save? And for me, it started with saving a little bit. I want to say I was maybe able to start when I first started my business, maybe like 2 or 3 years into business, I was able to start with saving like $5 a week and then maybe paying like $20 or $25 a month towards some form of debt, right? That was literally all I had. And then from there it grew. And I'll never forget when I first got my life insurance policy and being able to pay that every single month. And it wasn't like a headache, and it's not just enough to cover my funeral. Like it's more than that. When I started paying into retirement as as being a self-employed business owner. So I hope that Rachel's story and my story, that it encourages you all to have the right mindset and to literally start where you are. We both said that at some point it was just an extra $5 a week or $5 per payment. And then, we were able to build to the point where we are. I'll be honest with y'all, I'm not debt free. But like I said, I didn't start with 92 and I am actively paying down the debt. Okay. Actively paying it down. So thank you so much for sharing that. Can you talk about how this, so you have a career in finance and you have a business in finance. We're going to talk about that in a second, but how were you able to take those experiences and leverage them to not only have a business in your field, but to also have a career in your field? Like, how did you harness that and turn it into expertise?
Well, I will say, my third grade teacher always jokes about him coming in with a big old camcorder on his shoulder and going around and asking everyone what they wanted to be when they grow up. And I said, either an accountant or a lawyer. And I studied business law. I went to college for business law, and it was funny, reconnected with him later on in life. I was like, guess what I went to school for? Guess what I am? Accountant. So
I was kind of just like, hey, I know I'm good with numbers and I know I can argue you down. So I'm about to take these two gifts and run with it. And so for me, it was like, I'll have a guaranteed job because I felt like every company needed someone to pay the bills. Every company will need somebody to count the money. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm young. I'm like, I need to go in a field that I'm going to always be able to have a job. And I always thought I would be traveling. I'm like, no matter where I go, someone's going to be there is going to need someone to count the money and make sure the books are straight. So I was thinking that way, like I could do anything if I can count people's money and all those things. And so I was like, I'm gonna just stay in my lane and just kind of like dominate this lane. I'm good with this. And I've been doing it ever since 15 years. I've been at my day job. In 9 years, I've been running my business successful at both.
I know that's right. And I love what I want people to take away from what you just said is that you stayed in your lane and dominated your lane. We live in a society where people literally flip flop their focus when the wind changes to the left or the right. And I don't understand like the inability to be able to focus on and really master one thing before you then go into other things. For me, I didn't start like I started my first business in 2012, in January of 2012. I didn't add another business to the pot until years later. And then the business that I added to the pot was connected to the first business. I didn't go switch industries. I didn't start investing and working with other industries outside of my primary industry until I had been in business for maybe like 5 to 7 years. Like I literally spent that time, like you said, to get in your lane, stay in your lane, and to really dominate that lane. And if anyone is wondering how you can be successful in life, but also how you can be successful at, balancing a career and a business, or how you can be successful, at making sure your business is profitable and all of that, it's going to be from mastering that business. Figure out the streams of revenue that you can bring in through one business. Instead of starting 7 different businesses, why not have one business that has multiple divisions or streams or whatever? So you mentioned your day job, and we know that you have a career in the finance industry. I know that you recently, got some promotions and things like that. I believe that you just made history by becoming either the youngest woman, only Black woman, like there you are like making history literally with your day job, with your career. So can you talk about let's actually talk about that. That's not even one of the questions that I sent you, but what is it like to dominate, to rather navigate an industry that is dominated by white men? What has that journey been like for you, and what encouragement could you give to someone, whether they want a career or a business in finance?
Ooh, I would say when you're talking about dominating, you're a Black woman in corporate America, uh, you got to pick your battles, right? There are certain things that are going to bother us today, but then there are certain things that's going to bother us for a while, and that's going to make a difference for a while. And you have to use wisdom. You have to be clear. Your intentions you have to be pure. You have to be open to understanding when it's time to go to give it 100%, and when it's time to say, okay, maybe they don't know any better. Sometimes it is the case where they don't know any better, right? And so I'm in these meetings and I'm in these rooms and I'm the only Black person there, the only woman there. And okay, you want to over talk and you want to do this, you want to do that, but I'm the highest paid Black woman to ever work for this company. It's been running for 100 years. So you obviously need me, and I'm doing pretty well. So that means that I have a voice. But again, this is 15 years, so maybe about the last 6 years, I started finally really getting that all those promotions you're talking about, those the awards and things like that. So for a while, I was just like, hey, the quiet one in the corner who was just always getting her work done, being consistent, always on time. So you have to kind of you got to find your lane, and you have to make sure you have to, again, pick your battles. You have to life is short and life is long, right? So there are decisions that we're going to have to sit with for a long period of time. And then there are decisions some things that's going to roll off our back and we're going to forget about tomorrow, right? And so that's one of the biggest ways, because when it's time to speak up, you want everyone to be able to hear you. And that's hard to do that if you always, going off about something, right? So that would probably be like the main thing that I would say.
Yeah, I love that. And I love this idea of working under, really kind of under the radar, right? I've seen the quote, and I'm sure you've seen it, that it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. And I hear that, even in your story with your corporate job, is that you really just like kept your head down and did the work. And I think that in a society that is so microwavable and where we want things and can get things almost instantly, that the concept of putting in the work behind the scenes is almost a concept that is lost. And I'm concerned, and I'm not one of those people that like blames it on younger generations. I'm talking about our generation, even the generation before us, the generations that are currently living on earth. All of them in some way, shape, or form are used to having things at their fingertips. And it seems like people don't want to work for anything or keep, it's like the idea of keeping your head down. It's like a negative thing, right? Like, no, you do the work behind the scenes, and at the appointed time, and especially for us as Christian women, at the appointed time, God's going to make your name is going to be known, right? This is literally a promise for us that as we do the work behind the scenes, we keep our heads down, whatever, staying humble does not mean being a doormat, but keeping it humble and keeping it cute, that at the appointed time, our names will be exalted. So I really want people to walk away with that piece. But the picking your battles and speaking up, can you share a little bit? You said something really important, like that there's some things that are going to impact you for a moment and some things that'll impact you, for a long time. Life is short and life is long. You dropped a lot of wisdom with that. So for the women who are listening, do you have, like, how do you discern, and maybe it's just a spiritual thing, but how do you discern when to speak up? And I really want to put this in like a broad context, because I think that applies to so many things, whether you're a business owner, a wife, mom, community leader, ministry leader, corporate job, whatever. What is your process for discerning or handling those things that you feel like you need to address, and then like determining which things to address or whatever? Can you just shed a little bit of light about that?
Sure. I mean, this goes back to I got hired at my job on my 21st birthday. So, in just to myself, I said, during my prayer time, I said, I wanted to give them 10 years. I wanted to work hard and be consistent with something for 10 years. And this was before I even did one day of work. And I made a list of non-negotiables. I made a list of things that I said, as long as these things don't happen, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to weather the storm. And I always believe that often as Christians, we think life's supposed to be easy. And as soon as we have a little bit of rough patch, we're like, oh, this is not God's plan. I'm like, I think the rough patch is actually God's plan, because he is preparing you for greater. So I always knew that there would be things I would have to navigate. There would be things I would have to struggle through. I would have to grow through. But as long as it wasn't those things on the non-negotiable list, I would stay. And I knew it would help me be stronger. And so that was a big part of discernment, because it was like I already knew before my feelings got involved, before I had my little work friends or this and that. I'm like, oh, these are the things that I'm absolutely positively not going to allow to happen. And we should do that in every area of our lives, whether we are dating, whether we are looking to do business. There are certain things that if I will not do business with you, because I don't even believe all money is good money. I have a list of non-negotiables, even when it comes to business and my personal life and all those things. And so I think that we should all be clear about what's most important. Like, keep the big picture, the big picture. What is the big picture? And once we can keep a focus on that, everything else, you'll realize are those things that just kind of roll off your back. And then you say, well, hey, this could jeopardize this. Now we need to talk about it. But other than that, just make sure you know what your non-negotiables are.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that idea of the non-negotiable. So let's talk about balance, right? I think for me, one of my non-negotiables is setting certain boundaries in business and in life. We recently had someone on who we interviewed. We talked about just like order in life. We talked about like biblical order of things, but just like general, like doesn't even have to be connected to any type of faith-based anything. There should just be like a general order to your life, right? So for me, it's really setting these boundaries. And some of those things are, having business hours, and that's it. Now, my working hours, it's a little bit different. That's for me when I'm by myself. I can work from the couch, I can work from my desk, whatever. So that's my time. But like setting those business hours, clients that you will work with and clients that you won't work with. That could be a whole episode within itself. So how do you balance, like what are some of the boundaries that you set to help you balance a corporate career and business ownership?
Well, first, the boundaries are the accountabilities within myself. Before I can put boundaries and to do's on other people or don't do's, I have to do that for myself. So I tell people success is not about what you do, but a lot of it is what you don't do. So I don't do things that often zap people's, energy or their brain power. I don't watch TV much, or I don't even have friends that just sit and gossip. Yeah, girl, I just don't have those kinds of people in my life. Um, I don't keep up with the Kardashians. I don't know what they're doing. I don't like, it's just certain things that I just don't do. And so it allows me to have more time, more energy, more focus, less distractions. I make sure that everyone knows that 10 o'clock is my bedtime. My phone goes on do not disturb. Do not disturb me. There are three people who was exempt from that do not disturb list that my phone will let come through, and one of them I came out of. So, um, you know, so you just have to, again, for me, I had to start with me. I'm going to be from between 5 and 5:30 every morning. I'm up talking to God, no matter where I am, no matter what's going on. I am talking to God during those times. So now it's allowed me to be able to create an atmosphere where everyone else falls in line about how I treat myself, the things that I do and don't do. So you're not gonna call me because with gossip, because the conversation is not going to go as far as you want it to go. You're like, oh, well, let me get off the phone with her and call somebody else. You're not going to call me about the newest celebrity who's sleeping with who. 'Cause I'm like, child, who? Who is you talking about? So it really starts inward, and then everyone else falls in line. Like you literally, by your actions, teach other people how to treat you.
Yeah.
And it's same with your business. If you don't take your business seriously, other people won't, right? People are going to
Mhm.
look for handouts. People are going to look for this and look for that, right? But oh, no, no, no. We have business hours, and you can email the business
Yep.
email, or you can go to the website like everyone else who wants to
Yep.
do business with me. Not that I love you less, but there's structure, there's order, and during my business hours, I will respond
Yep.
and let you know. But most of it is internal. I think we spend a lot of time telling other people on the outside what they can and can't do, but then we kind of just do, what else, anything with our own lives and our own time. And you kind of can't be that way. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, man, you said so much. I'm glad I had myself on mute though, because I was cackling laughing. Okay. But yeah, oh my goodness. I love being friends with like-minded people. I really do, because I set like serious boundaries about my time. And there are some people in my life who I had to work a little bit harder to make them respect them. There have been clients that I have had in the past where I had to work a little bit harder to make that client respect those boundaries. Like, I don't work before 11 a.m. People always ask me, like, why do you not start your meetings until so late? Because my mornings are for me and for God. Like, it just is what it is, right? I don't do tired work anymore. I've been in business for over 10 years. Like, I've worked really hard to create a life that has space for me to spend time with God in the morning, me to work out, make my breakfast, get my spirit and my mind right for my work. And also for the type of work that I do, I'm consistently pouring into other people, and my business is ministry. That's the other reason why. Like, I can't consult people and tell them strategy if I've not spent time, seeking God on strategy and ideas and things like that. When my phone is on do not disturb, it's on do not disturb. If you contact me, and I've had clients who insisted on contacting me on days when the office was closed, you will get ignored. And then like, oh yeah, I text you on Thursdays. We ain't been open on Thursdays in about 4 or 5 years. You That's my school day. Like, I got schoolwork to do. I don't have time to be playing around with you and answering these questions. And I also really love what I really took away from everything you just said, and what I want people to take note of, is the importance of guarding your gates. That's what you see, what you listen to, what you speak, being mindful of your covering your heart and your spirit and all of those things. And that's what I heard you say. Like, there's certain conversations that you don't entertain. You don't watch a bunch of TV. Honestly, my television ends up watching me fall asleep most nights. And I give myself 1 day a week to like sit and watch TV. That's it. I don't know what's going on with the latest celebrity. I don't even follow celebrities on social media. Anybody who has been listening to the podcast knows I can't even stand social media. So no, I don't know what's going on with anybody on there. So I really love all that you said, and just wanted to highlight the importance of guarding your gates. So I want to give some people, we're getting ready to go for a commercial break, but I really want to, when we come back, give people just some of the tangible, like either tips or tools that you use to manage your time as you're balancing corporate and business. And then we're going to get into National Entrepreneurship Month and what that really means for us. So you all stick around. My name is Tiffany Gillespie. I am live on the Six Figure Setup podcast with Miss Rachael Hanible, and we'll be right back.
Gone are the days of expensive weekend conferences masquerading as business coaching opportunities. T3 Diversity Solutions is a management consulting firm that helps women of color business owners start, grow, and scale their companies through personalized consulting, access, and support. Their focus on strategic planning and growth is what your business needs to attain and sustain six-figure success. Visit T3DiversitySolutions.com to schedule your 360 business analysis.
All right, guys, we are back from commercial break. I am live with Miss Rachael Hanible. Super excited to have her here with us. We've been talking about finances. We've been talking about accountability. We've talked about mindset a little bit. We've already covered so much, and we're only about halfway through today's episode. So before the break, we were just talking about like boundaries and balance and things of that nature. So I want to dig a little deeper into that and talk about how you balance your career and business ownership. But I really want to give the listeners something tangible. Like, what is a thing or that you use or do that really helps you to balance having a career, the time and responsibilities of having a career and owning a business?
Well, most weeks I do an ABC list. It's just a list of things that need to be done before this week is out, the new week is out. Of course, the things on the A list are like, the most important. And sometimes the things is going to take the most time. So maybe I want to kind of break it down and not wait until the end of the week. B, the list on B is things that, they're important, but not as important as the things on the A list. But they need to get done. And then my C list are just things that are not as important, not as urgent, but still need to be done by the end of the week. And I don't put anything on my ABC list for next week. No, I'm not even worried about next week. I'm only worried about these next 7 days. So I'm not even thinking like, I don't overwhelm myself. What needs to happen in these next 7 days? And I create some kind of calendar. Even in my mind, I just know certain days that I can probably, start doing these things and go through. But I create the ABC, and then I have accountability calls on Sundays, and it's kind of like, hey, I've done with my accountability partner. I've done these things, and here's what I need to do for next week. And so that's kind of, we just keep repeating that cycle.
I love that. I love that, having an accountability partner and those scheduled calls. So all month long, we've been celebrating National Entrepreneurship Month. We love this month. This is one of the most important months as a business and a community for us. And National Entrepreneurship Month celebrates the art of designing, launching, and running a new business. It celebrates the art of designing, launching, and running a new business while keeping in account or taking into account all the risk of making a profit. So, can you talk a little bit about how you created your business specifically for your audience?
Oh, I listen to the people. I listen to the people. I talk to the people. I always feel like the people going to tell you what they want. They're going to tell you what they need, and they're going to tell you what they're willing to pay for. And so for 2 whole years, I did this personal finance coaching thing for free. I didn't, it wasn't even, I just did it for ministry. I would just, go to people's grandmom's house or auntie's house and sit down and eat dinner and pull credit reports or eat dinner and do budgets. And I was just doing it like on foot, just driving, just literally going to house, going to people's houses. Whoever would ask me to come over, say, "Can you do my sister too? Can you help my aunt too?" I'm like, "Sure." And so during that time, I was able to really, really gain the trust of the people where they would share with me what they struggled with the most, what they felt like they needed the most help with, and where they feel like they would have been better off if they learned it earlier on in life. And so I was able to, once the business started, somebody's like, "You really should charge for this. My credit score is looking good." I was like, "You think so?" So I started, my little $25. That was my first charge. Everybody's getting charged $25. It's kind of crazy. But I loved it so much, I would do it for free. So somebody gave me $25. I was like, "Hey, I'm in the money." But being able to do that allowed me to really be able to really make sure that I am solving these real problems. I think that sometimes you mentioned social media, sometimes people are lying about what their real problems are, right? And so it's really hard to solve them if people are not really vulnerable and honest and open and transparent and even trust you enough to even share what those real problems are as a business owner. So I'm glad that I had that time where that one-on-one time with so many people, and now 90% of my clients are word of mouth. It's very rare that I will like post on social media like, "Hey, click the link in my bio to have this, to have that." I don't even have to do that because everyone has just been spreading the word and just been telling, someone else they should trust me, someone else. And I think that all of that comes from those 2 years of me just being consistent with gaining the trust of the people and just doing it from my heart, and it just grew from there.
Yeah, so good. Like, I took notes. My little sticky note is completely covered. And you said one of the things that I think it's so simple, but people really make it so hard, is literally listening to the people. I tell my clients this all the time. If you want to know what your audience wants, just ask them. It's like we are so, as a society, so caught up in like this superficial social media marketing that most people don't even understand the strategy behind it. And I talked about this in a previous episode about not copying what you see on social media because you don't know the strategy behind it, or it may not have even had any strategy, right? So you're copying something that literally has no strategy. And instead of getting out there, doing the work, listening to your audience, building community, building trust with your audience, as you said, you just want to copy something and then you wonder why your business isn't successful. So if you really want to build a successful business that's centered around the audience that you've been called to serve, it's really important that you listen to the people and do the groundwork. It's really that simple. So before we jump out and put out a product, or before you go and launch your next service or whatever, why don't you ask your current community of people what they want? Why don't you ask them what they need and how much they're willing to pay for it, as Rachel just said. And I love that you touched on again, this piece about solving real problems and building trust. Oh my goodness. I mean, this solving real problems piece in service-based industries, I think that we understand this a little bit more than maybe people who are not in that in a service-based industry, even though I believe products should solve a problem as well. But when you focus on solving the problems, you all have probably heard this before. When you solve people's problems, they'll pay you for it. But it's not that simple. You have to actually get out there and get in it with the people. A lot of the individuals who I have on the podcast, they had to do guerrilla marketing. And that's basically what you were just talking about. Like, you had to get out there, get with the people, go to people's houses, sit with them over a meal in a way that they trust you. And I just feel like that's such a lost art. One of the things that a lot of me and my business owner friends have been talking about for the past few years is going back to the basics. So are we going to use social media? Absolutely. It's a necessary medium at this stage in our societal advancement. But we are not going to let that trump what we know works, and that's solving real problems and building real trustworthy relationships with people. So I'm so glad that you touched on all of those things. So you created this business for a very specific audience, for grandmama and them, for auntie and them. And I'm not just talking about, people that couldn't afford to pay, even though she was only charging $25, when she first started doing this work. But you really invested in learning more about your audience. And you said that you worked for free for 2 years. I'll be honest with you. I've worked for 5 years for free, so I totally understand that. However, it is not the recommendation that I make to my clients, knowing what I know now. To me, it's very risky, right? To do work for that long. So now I have like a kind of like algorithm almost that I give my clients for them to know, like how long to do like introductory rates and all of these other types of things. And again, it's because it's risky. So I want to talk about other risks that you have taken as a business owner. What are some of those risks that you've had to take as a business owner and corporate woman at the same time?
Well, I mean, not being willing to work with everyone. Uh, there were, again, when I first started, personal finance was not a sexy topic that it is right now. No one wanted to hear a young Black woman from the hood with no kids telling them what to do with their money. And that was like the biggest thing. Like, she don't even have kids. She don't even understand how to manage money. I was like, what do me having kids got to do with anything? That was like the thing I would hear all the time. And so sometimes it can be attractive, I guess, or it can be enticing to kind of like link up with someone else once it started to get, the ball started to get rolling a little bit, when more people was talking about personal finance. I'm like, well, they're listening to this person, they're listening to that guy. They want a man to say, okay, well, let me hook up with this person. So I'm happy that I've I ran the risk. I don't like the term risk, but I mean, I wanted to make sure I was doing it my way, and not just being around whomever, just being on the flyer with whomever, just being in the photo with whomever. And I'm so glad that I did that. And although it forced me to take the stairs, because there were escalators available that probably could have gotten me to certain places quicker, but maybe it wouldn't have lasted as long as it did. And so again, sometimes you can get enticed to take the escalator if you say, oh, well, I can hook up with this person and they have a bigger audience, and maybe that can help me. But so that's part of the risk, really understanding that this can't just say yes to everything. And that may make other people feel like, oh, she thinks she's too good to do our event, or she thinks she's too good to do that, or whatever. So shall it be. So I mean, it is what it is. But so those certain things, when you have to turn things down because it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel right in your spirit, it's not for you. That can be rough in the moment, but I think that it all worked out for me.
Yeah, that's so good. You said two things that I want to pull out from that. And the first thing is being willing to walk away from opportunities that don't really serve you. So I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked about speaking up. Like, is there something, so you said, if it doesn't sit well with your spirit, but do you have like any tangible like parameters that you use to kind of like filter things out? Or kind of, like process through opportunities that come your way? Do you have like a checklist or anything that you use?
Well, I start off with if God can't fit through the door, then it's too small, right? It's not for me. So if you're telling me I have to dumb down, or not mention God, I've had different opportunities. I'm using air quotes for a reason, because I don't consider it to be an opportunity. If you tell me I can't mention God, or if you tell me that I have to kind of like lower, like don't put scriptures or whatever the case may be. I've literally had those situations where you have a whole talk, and I'm
Mm.
like, oh well, you obviously you don't want me
Yeah.
because I'm liable to mention God at any moment. It doesn't really, doesn't really matter, and I just can't control it. So let's just not do this. So I always say that about those different doors. Like if God is not like it's just too small if my God can't fit through it. And so that's number one. Number two, if it's done in a way that it is like backhanded type of thing, like don't make it seem like you're taking me from somebody else. Like, oh, we can do this and we can one up that person. Like, I don't want to work with you if your motivation is to one up someone else or take from someone else. I never believed that I needed to take from someone else to have what God has for me. And so if you approach me with that, I don't want to work with you because I don't want to be involved in anyone who wants to take from someone else.
Yeah.
Or even shut someone else down. Like again, in personal finance, I feel in this space is like, oh, respond back to this person. Oh, do this, and we can debunk this, and we can have our version of this. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So again, I talk to God before everything I do. And there has been things that I found out later on. I was like, ooh, that was a little bit of my ego saying I want to do this anyway. Like I talked to God just because it was a checklist. But it was like, just so you know, I talked to you, you know what I mean? But I didn't really wait for an answer. And so there are times I did walk through the door and I was like, ooh, I wasn't supposed to do that. I didn't wait for an answer there. And so the second part of that is waiting for an answer. Just being sure. If I have to question it, then that's probably my spirit telling me like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. My former pastor and still such a major part of my life, Pastor Keon Jarreau in Philly, he always says, when in doubt, don't. Like that. And that has literally been a measure for so many things in my life. If you are doubtful about it, do not make a move yet until you're sure. And don't make a move in any direction. Don't say yes or don't say no until you're sure, about where God wants you to go or what you want to do. I also love that you talk though about this clout chasing and just having integrity as a person, but definitely as a business owner. I don't really know that we necessarily need to give people advice on that, because I feel like some things are just a part of like, being a good human. But what I'll say is that I want you guys to be cognizant. That's a point that I want to pull out. Let me just do it that way, is that you don't want to ever have yourself in a position where you are clout chasing. And you always want to check the condition of your heart. If you're not making a decision or doing something, with the spirit of integrity, then you don't need to be doing it. And anytime you do something that lacks integrity, you're going to pay for it at some point in the future. So make sure you guys, like, if you're already doing that, cut that out. If you have been feeling some type of way, because I know for me, there have been, like you said, quote unquote, opportunities that I felt like I was missing out on. And it was really just my ego that, had me feeling like I was missing out on something, when really it was really protecting the integrity of my business and of my brand. And now that I've been in this thing for over 10 years, I see how important it is that as a Black woman, a young Black woman in male-dominated industries, yours is male-dominated and so is mine, that we maintain our integrity. I always say that I am so grateful that I never sold my soul to the devil for a single thing in business. And I pray that just encourages someone. So we're going to go ahead and take our final commercial break of today's episode. When we come back, we are going to be getting into the secret sauce. Rachel is going to reveal her 6-figure secret. You all know this is one of my favorite parts of the show. So make sure you stick around. This is the 6-Figure Setup Podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Gillespie, and we'll be right back.
November is National Entrepreneurship Month, and T3 Diversity Solutions is celebrating all month long. We kick the month off with a global prayer call for all entrepreneurs. Listen up to hear what else we have in store this month. On Wednesday, November 9th, we will present our Holiday Hustle Prep Masterclass. This free masterclass will help you prepare your business for the holiday sales season. Next up is our virtual roundtable discussion in honor of Women's Entrepreneurship Day. Coffee with the CEOs is a virtual roundtable featuring women leaders of diverse nationalities. Join them as they share their strategies for building business ecosystems on Saturday, November 19th. But wait, that's not all. We have new episodes of the Six Figure Setup podcast every week, and our CEO, Tiffany Gillespie, will be live on Instagram each week to teach on the importance of education, ecosystems, inclusion, and policy for women business owners. You cannot afford to miss a single thing, so visit T3DiversitySolutions.com to register for all of our free events this month. Visit T3DiversitySolutions.com today.
All right, everyone, we are back. The Six Figure Setup podcast is back, and I am live with Miss Rachael Hanible. She is a personal finance expert. That is her field. She's already told us her story, so we know why she's qualified to do the work that she does. And I just wanted to take a moment. There's two more things that her and I are going to talk about, but I just wanted to take a quick moment to just explain a little bit more why I had Rachael come on, particularly during National Entrepreneurship Month. The primary reason is that there's a difference between entrepreneurship, and like being self-employed, or like business ownership and being self-employed. And a lot of times when we think about entrepreneurship or business ownership, I feel like people just automatically assume that if you own a business, you must be working in your business full time. Y'all know at the Six Figure Setup community, we don't believe in that. You should only be full-time in your business if God has called you to it. Full-time business ownership, let me backtrack. Business ownership is not for the faint of heart, and full-time business ownership is definitely not for the faint of heart. So if you have not been called to it, if it's not a part of your life's purpose, this thing will easily consume you and like chew you up, spit you out, and keep it moving. So I wanted to bring someone on. Most of my guests, up until this point have been completely self-employed, but with National Entrepreneurship Month, I wanted to present a different perspective. And that's what Rachael brings to the table. If you guys haven't already picked up on that, in addition to the knowledge that she has, she also, again, is someone who very much has a very active career, and who also has a very active business that keeps her busy. But in addition to being a business owner and a career woman, she's also an author. There's a really important and touching story, though, behind her journey to becoming an author. And that's what I really want her to share, because I want you all to know that this journey of answering the call, responding to living out your purpose, that it doesn't come with just a bed of roses, right? That it's not just always ups, that there are some moments that are challenging. So I'm going to toss it over to Rachael. Rachael, I first want you to just kind of tell us more about what the book is, and then can you share about the inspiration behind it?
Sure. Amber's Magical Savings Box is an interactive children's book that teaches kids about earning money and saving money. It has a few things in the back where you can, there are affirmations, first of all, for our young people. And there's some questions that ask them like what they want to do with their money, and how they want to make money, and who they want to donate to, or who they want to help. So it helps them just kind of get the ball rolling of just money is your friend. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because after some years of being a personal finance coach for adults, one of the main things I would hear my clients say is the things that they wish they would have learned earlier in life is when it comes to money. And sometimes our sessions would turn into full-blown therapy, we like on the finance couch, because you start to really dig up a lot of things that you learned about money as a kid, and how it's been holding you back for your whole life, basically up until this point. And so it led me to do some studies, and it found out that your relationship with money is formed by the age of 7. So our young people know whether money is an enemy or a friend, whether it's good or bad, by the time before they hit the double digits. And so for me, it was like, okay, now I feel like I need to do something about that. And so I was looking for books that were already written. I figured I can just refer my clients if they have children, like, hey, this little book I heard about or I saw or I've read may be good for your young person and your family or whatever, to just kind of help them, to give them what you didn't have, and so I took some time going to some bookstores and looking up directories, and I couldn't find any book that was teaching young people about money. I saw a book that was teaching people how money is made. I'm like, well, what is that gonna do? How it's printed and all of that. I'm like, well, that's not gonna do any good. And so in the parking lot of Barnes and Noble, I started to write Amber's Magical Savings Box, and I started to scribble it on a piece of paper in my car. And it was February, it was cold. I remember it was late at night. And it was more so to me to say, like, hey, you're supposed to do this. And I just felt like that was what God was telling me to do. Like, you can't find it and it doesn't exist because you're supposed to do that. And so that is how we got to Amber's Magical Savings Box. It's named after Amber, my niece Amber, who passed away at the age of 3. And so it was a way for me to honor her legacy, but also to be able to give what I call the next generation of millionaires a head start on the road to financial freedom. And so it was really important for me to be able to walk them into introducing them to money in the good way. Unfortunately, a lot of times we're introduced to money with a debt, with college debt, right? Like our first real introduction to money is like, oh, we're in debt already. And so I wanted to kind of get ahead of that. So that's how we got to the book.
I love that. I love that. And I love how you turned, something that is obviously, very tragic and sad into an opportunity to bless other children. And like it's fueling your legacy, but it's also keeping her legacy and her life and name alive. And I really, really love that. At the Six Figure Setup community, we are all about building legacy businesses, whether you're the one running it or not. That's totally different story. But we don't build for the moment. We build for a lifetime. And again, it doesn't have to be your lifetime, but it can be someone else's lifetime. So I really, really love how you took that and turned it into something great. And I mean, it's forever going to be like out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just forever a part of your legacy in your life as well as Amber's. All right. So y'all, we are at the point of our podcast that I think everybody joins for, because they want to know the secret. Like, how are these experts that I'm bringing on? They want to know, how are they getting these 6-figure salaries, 6-figure revenue, 6-figure profit? And one of the things that you really know how to do well is sustaining a 6-figure salary. So can you just give, it can just be one piece of advice, or if you have a few pieces of advice, but how would you advise that someone sustain a 6-figure salary once they have it?
Don't become lazy. I think it's so easy to like feel like, I've arrived. I can let my hair down. I can, I don't have to work as hard. But you should. You should always find ways to continue to go the extra mile. Don't feel like, oh, they should just be happy to have me here. I'm such and such, or I'm whatever, right? And I see a lot of people doing that. And what happens is you have those people who are going the extra mile every day. They're going to surpass you. And so make sure you're a student. You're always a student. Constantly looking for ways to offer more, offer better, do things faster, and to, again, offer something extra, just a little bit extra. You always want to give people more than what they pay for. Always, always want to give people more than what they pay for, because you can set your cost, you can set your price, but the people tell you the value. The people will tell you the value. We talked about solving problems earlier, and what is the value of that? And so that is the way that you're going to be able to sustain it and stay there if you're consistent with going the extra mile, consistently being a student and learning new things, and just making sure that you're giving them more than what they paid for.
Absolutely. I love that. You can set the price, but the people determine the value. Let me tell you something. You're making it real easy for me to edit and pick the clips that's going to promote this here podcast, honey. All right. Because you are dropping so many gems. So thank you for sharing that secret. And I always appreciate it. One of the things that I hope people understand from the 6-Figure Setup podcast is that these people don't have to tell you their secrets. And this is something that I literally asked them to do. Like, if you're not willing to share a secret that has worked for you, you can't come on my podcast. So I really hope that you all see the value in all of these experts sharing their secrets. And Rachael, you have shared so much with us. Y'all know I always love to just take a moment at the end of each podcast to love on my guests, because these are my people. These are people who I know, who I've worked with, who have impacted my life. And Rachael is one of those individuals who has impacted my life personally. I follow all of her tips. You all will get to connect with Rachael. She'll talk about that in 1 second, just like how you can connect with her. But I love that on a weekly basis, she puts out finance tips, like free, really, really, really good finance tips, like really, really, really good. And I can't believe that they're free. So, but she has impacted me again, personally, professionally, financially. There have been things from her list that I already did. Some things I'm like, I need to put that on my list. So I just really appreciate you. And I don't know if you remember this, but maybe I want to say it was probably over a year ago. Let me actually see if I can pull this up while I'm talking. But Rachael randomly called me. Let's see if it pops up on here, y'all. I wasn't prepared for this, but Holy Spirit, I have the date. It was February 20th, 2020. This was literally like, and I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but when I think back now, like I didn't know what February, like I didn't know. We didn't know what was coming next. But Rachael called me and she left the most encouraging voicemail. And yes, over 2 years later, I still have this voicemail saved on my phone. The only people's voicemails I save are literally my family. And then like this one voicemail from Rachael. I don't even think I'm looking right now, so I don't, make myself out to be a liar. There's two other friends who have left me messages throughout the course of the years, who I still have, saved in my phone. But she just left me an encouraging word and a supportive word. And I didn't know what was coming. Like we had just opened our hair salon, me and my business partner around that time. I'm bringing my business partner on to tell the story about the salon and what happened after we opened. But we had just opened that, and literally 30 days later, we were closed. And it's messages like the one that Rachael left for me that all these years later, I still play back, I still keep, and I still share. So I just want to tell you, sis, that I appreciate you. And when I say that you have been like in my life for many years, and I'm so, so, so grateful for that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. You have what I remember calling you. I don't remember what I said, but I remember calling you for sure.
Yep, I got it saved, honey, just in case anybody need to see. I got it saved. So, all right, we're at the end of our time. I know I want you to tell people about how they can get the book. I want you to tell them about how they can get in contact with you for the one-on-one financial sessions. So can you just share about those two things and then how people can stay in contact with you in general?
Sure, you can pick up Amber's Magical Savings Box in Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble, or Amazon, or anywhere that you buy books. You can follow me on Instagram is at peptalks_, and you can be my friend to get those free finance tips Tiff was talking about. We have Finance Friday parties every Friday at noon. I've been doing it every Friday at noon, no matter where I am, for 3.5 years. Never failing on giving 10 free tips every Friday. So come join our finance parties, Rachael Hanible on Facebook. And if you would like to have a group session with your kids or with adults, you can, or one-on-one, you can visit RachelHannible.com to request all of those things.
Awesome. Well, sis, again, thank you so, so very much for what you have meant to my life. But thank you for doing this podcast episode. I pray, that it helps someone. You all make sure that you follow Rachael. Everything that she just mentioned is going to be connected to the show notes on all podcasting platforms. It'll be in the caption of the YouTube video, and any marketing clips that we post to social media. We'll make sure to keep relevant clips, relevant information attached to those clips. So thank you, sis.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to let you go. We'll talk soon. All right, guys. So that is it. We have been brought to another episode, the end of another episode. If y'all can see me, y'all, it's been a long day of recording, of just doing all the things. And I'm just so grateful that Rachel decided to join us. So you all make sure you stay connected to her, stay connected to the Six Figure Setup podcast and to our community. If you're a part of the Dream Builders community, shout out to you. But just make sure you all are staying connected, and we'll be back next week for another episode. Have a great day.
Have you heard? T3 Diversity Solutions is hosting its 7th annual business mastermind. Since 2015, CEO Tiffany Gillespie has hosted business owners from across the United States in a one-day intensive to review goal attainment, develop strategies for the coming year, and push past any roadblocks to your business success. This application-only event is one you cannot miss. Tiffany personally selects each mastermind attendee to ensure the group maximizes its time together. Seats for this event are extremely limited, so submit your application today by visiting T3's website. This year's mastermind will be completely virtual, so you can join from anywhere. To learn more and apply now, visit T3DiversitySolutions.com.